All right. What's up? What's up? What's up, y'all? It's Joey Womack, founder and CEO of Goodie Nation, and you all are in for an absolute treat today. I'm super excited because we get to bring some of this Grow with Google content straight to our followers on social media. And so you get to see what it's like to be a Grow with Google coach. You'll get to some amazing content. You'll get to learn, how you can master NotebookLM for sales. And here's why this stuff is super important, right? Here's why this is super important. In today's day and age of the economy being interesting, interest rate being interesting, AI, social media, and stuff like that, it's super important that we nail the sales process. And we know that how it goes when it comes to sales, right? You jump on a call, you reach out to somebody from email, you got notes in a lot of different places, in a lot of different ways. You got prospects over here, leads over here, opportunities over here. It can be very messy and highly inefficient, which leads to you not realizing your potential. So at Goodie Nation, we're collaborating with Google this year for the Grow with Google Coaches Program. And we brought on some amazing folks to lead complimentary workshops to teach you how to use Google's AI tools in order to help your business. And we have the pleasure today, the privilege of having the Midwest coach, Jasmine Shells. So Jasmine, I want to kick it over to you for a quick intro. Oh, you're on mute.
You got to love the mute thing, but I'm excited to be here today. Thank you so much for having me. I love to kind of tell you a little bit more about my origin story before we dive into NotebookLM. So we have something really good in store for you today, for you folks who want to learn all about how you can leverage it for sales. But back to me. I'm originally from Ohio, living in Chicago, so I'm over in the Tri-Taylor area. I got my start. I went to the University of Notre Dame, so I'm a big Go Irish person. And then after that, I went to work in corporate America at EY, where I got my first business idea. And this business idea I never knew would grow into this venture-backed opportunity, but it did. In 2018, I launched a platform called 5 to 9, which was an internal event management software that we licensed to corporations to help them understand the ROI of their employee events. So everything from workshops to trainings, et cetera, on-sites, off-sites, how are these helping to both engage and retain talent? From there, raised $6 million and got investments from organizations like Salesforce and Morgan Stanley, landed customers like Amplitude and Verizon and Harry's and Shipt. It was huge. And when I thought about what I wanted to do in my next chapter, I was really excited about AI. Why? Because when I got invited through Google actually to go to an API sprint program where I was learning about Gemini and its tools, I was able to rebuild 5 to 9 literally within an afternoon leveraging AI. And when I had learned to code before, it took me an entire semester in a school to be able to build something that did not even compare. So that's when I realized, how can I take AI and bring that to other business owners, scrappy individuals who maybe have an idea but don't know where to start, or even people who are looking to scale their operations. So that really excited me, and that's how I came to this Grow with Google opportunity. I really am excited about giving back and then also helping people leverage AI to make their businesses succeed. So that's a little bit about me.
Super dope. Super dope. Okay, so let's get right into it, right? Let's get right into it. So again, we're collaborating with Google, with Grow with Google, to provide amazing innovators, amazing entrepreneurs with the tools they need to succeed, especially today we're talking about sales. So let's go into, NotebookLM. Jasmine, share a little bit more around the tool, use cases, and stuff like that before we do the demo.
Yes, so I'm not sure if any of you have ever used NotebookLM before. Not sure if you are able to kind of type in the chat, yes, you have, no, you haven't. Would be great to kind of see some of that. But NotebookLM specializes in the information that you give it. So you can upload sources like PDFs, websites, videos, All these things to create a knowledge hub for yourself and your team. So think of Notebook LM as, whereas with maybe like a Gemini, it's pulling all these different sources from the web and all these other places. Notebook LM is really a great hub for documents you give to it as a repository of things that you maybe want to learn more about, or information that you want to share, or even partnering with Notebook LM as a strategist for a certain problem that you want to tackle. So that's one thing that really makes Notebook LM special, and why a lot of business owners are starting to leverage it to do everything from scale their HR operations to land deals with sales, which is what we'll be focusing on today.
Awesome. So you want to go kind of right into it?
Yes. So what we're going to do is I'm actually going to be demoing to you how you can leverage Notebook LM in a specific use case for sales. Like I said, it has a lot of different use cases, but this is the one that we'll be leveraging today. So first, we're going to go over into notebooklm.google.com. So if you are actually at your computer and you want to follow along, you can go to this website and you can build with me, or even tinker after we get done with the demo. So once you come into Notebook LM, you'll see feature notebooks, which are ones that Google provides to you to give you an example of different ways, like organizations like The Atlantic are using Notebook LM, for instance, or The Economist. But then if you look further down, you have the opportunity to see your notebooks, right? So you can create your own notebooks, like I said earlier, in Notebook LM. So when you want to create a notebook, you go to create new, and this pop-up comes up. And essentially, as you can see, as I mentioned earlier, you can search the web for new sources, but what really makes Notebook LM stand out is this box right here. The box where you can drop your files, right? The repository of knowledge that you have. And what's really cool is you could upload files, you could link certain websites, you could connect it to your drive, or you can even copy and paste text into that. So that's one thing of the powers of using Notebook LM. Definitely, if you're a Google user, is that it's connected to your systems. So I wanted to show you a use case of what it looks like to leverage this through your drive. So we're going to be going through our drive here, and I'm going to be going into my folder. 1 second. So you can see. Hold on 1 second. Here we go. This is the one that we want here. So create new, going into my drive again. There we go. This is what I wanted. So this is a folder that I created specifically here for this demo. And to give you more insight into what this demo, we're going to create a practical scenario. So I'm working at a company called Pipeline Pilot AI, and I'm looking to land this company called Brightcart. So Pipeline, what we do is essentially we help organizations like a Brightcart, that's a retail company, to better understand their customer data in order to land sales deals. So I have an important meeting coming up with the rest of the C-suite. I've already had an introductory call with the VP of sales, and I need to land the rest of the C-suite in order to get them to sign on with my organization. So I'm going to give Notebook LM these documents, which includes the intro call that I had with the VP of sales from Brightcart. It also includes the transcript that includes the responses between me and that VP of sales from that call. I'm also going to give it market research on the industry as a whole. And last but not least, I'm going to give Notebook LM the Pipeline Pilot Sales one-pager. I want Notebook LM to know this is how we're trying to position ourselves out in the market. So you can come, you select all the documents, and then you are able to input those into Notebook LM. So as you see in the bottom right, you can insert, and then it starts to generate. So as this is generating here, what you're going to see come up where it says Untitled Notebook is it's taken all these sources and essentially has created an overview of what these sources are actually telling us. So basically it says, hey, we're going to learn how retailers struggle with fragmented data and how they're struggling with customer retention. This is what Brightcart is struggling with based on these calls that we have with the VP of sales. And that's our advantage to sell into their organization. So what's really great is you also see that we will get some generated responses here of things that we can ask NotebookLM, and we can have a conversation with it in order to understand how can we really land this deal. So one thing that we can ask is, hey, I have a meeting coming up with the C-suite at Brightcart. All right. Give me a 60-second pitch to land the deal. All right. So you can type that, put that into chat. And as you can see, it's actually going over all the real life documents that you fed to it and giving you feedback. So it tells you to land the deal with the Brightcart C-suite, you need to address their specific pain points: consistency, visibility, and ROI. And then it also just gives you a 60-second pitch. It talks about how Brightcart has these 40-second locations, 42 locations, and lots of customer data. But right now, the data is not being turned into consistent repeat revenue. All right. So what's really great is it's actually speaking to the problems that the CFO is having, where what they want to know is how can they actually get repeat purchases and how can they quantify those repeat purchases. So that's something that is really great about this. Speaking to the CFO, we can also ask Notebook, what questions should I expect from the CFO on ROI? So if you're to click this, it reviews the content again, and then it actually thinks about how you can tailor that to this focus. So what are some questions we can anticipate? How specifically will this drive a revenue lift? And then it gives you specific metrics that you can speak to. Or what are the hard cost savings in terms of labor and productivity, et cetera. So as you can see here, it demonstrates the questions that you can ask to the CFO in order to win the deal. Something else that I want to show you before I move into my next prompt is this right here called Studio. So Studio, what's really nice about it is if you want NotebookLM to do this for you, it can create an audio overview also of your sources. So I'll click this. It takes generally about 10, sometimes to 15 minutes for audio to come back. But one thing that a lot of people leverage audio for instance, it's for if you have to commute to go meet with the C-suite of Brightcart and you don't have time to read all of this because you're driving, you can actually put an audio overview together, and it's something that you can listen to in the car as you're driving to meet the C-suite and to land that deal. So that's one thing about NotebookLM that is very unique, is that it can generate all these different types of outputs based on your sources. Another really popular one, which is in beta, but it's really cool, you have to try it, is to even generate a slide deck. So by generating a slide deck, if you need a visual, let's say you want to pass this along, you're going in there with an associate salesperson and you want them to have a quick overview that you didn't want to put together, NotebookLM can put it together for you in an instant. So those are really great things that you can have NotebookLM generate for you just based upon your own content. Let's do one other prompt as those are generating, and if they come up, we'll maybe be able to see them. Something else that you can do is you can actually have NotebookLM think about a deep dive discovery. So let's say you want to give it certain context in a certain role. You can tell NotebookLM, hey, I want you to act like a senior enterprise sales strategist. And based on these documents, identify these areas for me. So I actually want to show you what that's like to give NotebookLM a role and see it actually fulfill a role. And anytime that you're working with an LLM, just as a tip, I'm sure some of you maybe have heard this, the more context that you can give it, or if you can help it understand the role that it should play, the better output that you'll receive. So let's give it this and see how it responds. So we wanted to identify those hidden pain points, buying triggers, any implementation risks, gaps in the discovery process, and lastly, what could prevent the deal from closing, right? And as you can see, it takes on the role of a senior enterprise sales strategist, and it lays out all of those points. from the hidden customer pain points to the buying triggers to the implementation risk, as you can see here. And most importantly, what could prevent the deal from closing? As a sales leader, when I was selling with 5 to 9 into organizations, having something like this would have been great, because what you'll realize from each deal is that what could prevent the deal from closing shifts. For one org, it may be budget. For another org, it may be stakeholder management. For another org, it just may be timing. So it's really important that you leverage all the resources that you have when you put those in here, and kind of just gut check with AI as a sales strategist for you to see if what your team is thinking could be the risk factor for closing that deal is the risk factor that's being identified from the documents that you've uploaded of the calls and the meeting transcript notes. So
Um,
here it says, oh,
just
Joey, you have something?
just one second. If anybody has any questions, drop the question in as a comment, and then we can answer it live. Right. So just some people are watching on YouTube, some people are watching on LinkedIn. Just drop the question as a comment. And I want to show some love to Eddie Johnson, Demetrius, Shannon, who've all dropped some comments so far. If you have a question about any of this stuff, drop it as a comment, and then we can answer it live. Sorry, Jasmine, go ahead.
No, thank you for interjecting. If there's a question that pops up, just let me know. So yes, as you can see, specifically what could prevent the deal from closing here is procurement delays, proof of concept failure, or ROI skepticism. So that CFO popping up again as one of the main stakeholders you need to convince. So what is nice about this is in your next meeting, you can be very, very tailored in how you approach and go about it with that C-suite. So you can land the deal or get a lot closer to an answer if they're going to close or not. So you and your sales team don't waste time or effort, or hey, we can most likely close this client in the next quarter. So this is some examples here. I'll take a pause. Joey, have any questions popped up yet in the chat?
No questions as of yet. I did have a question of my own there, right? So let me make sure I understand this. So I can take information from various sources, and then NotebookLM will create things like a slide deck for me, maybe even audio or podcast and things of that nature. And I can pull in information not only from the stuff that I control, but I can also pull in like stuff from the web. I can also ask the NotebookLM to just go do the research on the company. So I think the company in the example is it
Brightcart.
Brightcart. So I can say go look up Brightcart, go to its website, do some research on it, and then use that to tailor, anything sales related.
Absolutely. So even to show you an example, right here is the transcript of the call that was happening with Brightcart's VP of Sales, Chip Williams. So you can see the back and forth conversation. And this is very messy notes, right? This, if you just kind of look at it, it may be kind of hard to pull out the key insights. Well, what's great about NotebookLM is that it can do that for you, right? So even the initial intro call where he was just telling us about the organization. So it really can take whatever you give it in order to make sense and summarize the key important things about that data.
Can also make a kind of a statement here. Mm-hmm. So again, for those that have a Google Workspace account, you can use Gemini to transcribe the notes from the call, right? And then use it as a source for NotebookLM.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So all the great things of why it's interconnected, leveraging Google products, you really can, like I said, I showed you very easily how you could just come start a notebook, create a project, and just upload your different artifacts for the platform. So that's really what I wanted to show you as an overview. And, kind of jumping back in, because I see that we are still generating this. If this pops up before we're done going through the rest of the slides, I'll come back here. But I do want to give you another use case of a real live customer from Google who leveraged NotebookLM and how it helped them. So this right here, this is Mike. He is over Heritage Hospitality Group, based in Chicago, which is really great. And Mike's the CEO. So Mike is growing and scaling his company. He specifically talked about how one thing that was really hard was onboarding new employees because they would ask him questions like, "What is our PTO policy?" Or, what is the policy or procedure for like requesting a reimbursement, etc. So what Mike did was he uploaded to NotebookLM all of Heritage Hospitality Group's HR manuals, documents, policies. And then from there, he gave access to his employees. And you know what they did? Instead of coming to ask Mike, they specifically went into Notebook LM and they said, "What is the HR policy for PTO?" And it spit it right back out. So, yes, you can use Notebook LM for sales, but you can also use Notebook LM for something like scaling your HR or helping to onboard new talent. So they have a place where they can go and ask questions and you can update that documentation as needed or as things change in your organization. So it gives you a lot of flexibility and it helps you to scale as a leader in your org. And this I thought was so fascinating to see is that small business owners actually report a median weekly savings of 13 hours due to AI tools. So learning how to use this and leverage this for your organization can have a big impact if you do it right and you learn how to integrate it into your current workflows. And another thing that we talk a lot about is the importance of what we call human in the loop, right? Sometimes people think, oh, AI is just going to do it all and solve it all. Done. Yes, AI is very powerful, but it's also important to have a human in the loop, meaning that you or someone on your team is able to verify and look at what it's outputting and that you're giving it a second pair of eyes. So definitely make sure that you understand it's a partner to you, but you should move forward with a human in the loop approach. So when you think about building your AI action plan, what does that look like for you as a business owner? Are you thinking about how you can specifically scale your skills, or are you thinking about how you can scale your operations? Well, one way that you can scale your skills, I know we talked about scaling your sales operations, but Google actually provides, which is really awesome, an AI professional certificate at no cost. All right. So you can use this, your employees can use this, and it's free. So you just go to grow.google/business. You're able to take these things for your organization. So one thing that's really nice about this is really popular. You should check out this program if you get the chance. Another thing that just launched that I had to talk about was for you business owners, Kickstarter and Google have just come out with the Next Wave Fund. So the Next Wave Fund is supporting early stage tech startups and small businesses, and you can actually get funding. So, you can go to this link, you can figure out what you need to do to apply if you're eligible, and it gives just a great way to be a part of the ecosystem, but also to get some funding to your company. And when you think about kind of the takeaway from here, what are next steps? What should I do? It's really thinking about how can you integrate AI more into your workflow. So examine what you're already doing and then test how AI can help. And just try that. I know for me, right, like even thinking about sales, I have my old way of doing it. I have the tried and true. I use my CRM. I meet with my team. We talk about how we can go about landing this customer, and we kind of role play those objections together. What's great about leveraging Notebook LM, for instance, is now instead of me just going the old way about it, a new habit I can start is doing objection handling for a sales deal with Notebook LM and going back and forth and seeing how it responds to what I have to say. So just start to consider how are ways you can integrate these tools into your new habits. So thank you. Would love any other questions. And then also I'm going to see if Notebook LM is still generating those things. Yeah. Oh, so as you can see, it does have the audio here, but it's still generating the slide deck. So I would play the audio for you. I don't think it'll pop up necessarily on this through the live stream, but I wish the deck was ready. But yeah, I would love to answer any questions that people may have, or if Joey, if you have any more, would love to kick it to you.
Yeah, super cool, Jasmine. Let's kind of go into how we can get more entrepreneurs in the Midwest knowing about this. So let's make sure we're talking about the same page. So you are the You are the Midwest regional coach for Grow with Google. Can you share a little bit more around the states in your portfolio?
Yeah, so of course, have to talk about Ohio, Michigan, Iowa, Wisconsin. You know, this is a great geography test, but those are some of the great Indiana. Those are some of the great states that I get to partner with, and it's been really cool being able to do so. So, if you are in the Midwest region and you're interested in potentially bringing a workshop to your organization, please reach out. And then, furthermore, one other thing I wanted to share is we do have small group sessions. So I don't know if you can see the QR code that is specifically up on the screen, but if you want to sign up for a free small group session and specifically dig into areas that you are facing in terms of questions for your business around AI, you can just sign up and then I can send you the link for when those will be. So that's something I definitely wanted to share as an offer.
Nice, nice. So, if you are, an entrepreneur support organization, let's say you're an incubator, or maybe you're an accelerator, or maybe you run a group, an online group for entrepreneurs from all types, right? Service-based professionals, accounting firms, PR firms, brick and mortar companies, CPG companies. It could be a few tech startups, even nonprofits. Like we tend to think of nonprofits not as nonprofit founders, it's not as entrepreneurs, but they definitely are, right? If you're an entrepreneur of an organization, right, a leader, you created the organization and stuff like that. And more importantly, if you lead a group of these type of folks, we can partner with you or Jasmine. And again, if you're in the, from the Detroits, in the St. Louis's, the Chicago's, Bloomington, Indiana, I'm going to say all, as many states as possible and cities as possible in the Midwest, it is possible to partner with Jasmine for a complimentary workshop, right? Typically, they're going to be virtual. They could be in person, but reach out to Jasmine for those details. Also, if you are a person that has a lot of entrepreneurs in your network, we can do a live stream like we're doing right now, right? So reach out to Jasmine, for those details. Jasmine, how can people get in contact with you?
Yes, so one way that you can get in contact with me is through my LinkedIn. That's one. And then another is through my Google email, which is shells@google.com. So that is another one. So yeah, LinkedIn, or you can just reach out through my email address. And furthermore, if you sign up through that small group session form, I'll have your contact information. So when I send you the slots for that, you can also just respond through the Google form.
Awesome, awesome. Just in closing, Jasmine, a few questions. One, what other tools can you share more information about? Can you teach? Can you do workshops for?
Yeah, so one other tool that I love, love, love to talk about, obviously, is Gemini. So it's great in the sense that you can create gems with it. And really, that's just about giving it that personality, that role that you want it to have. So you don't have to remind Gemini who you are every time when you're trying to get it to accomplish a task. And it, like I said, syncs into all your other Google tools. So that's one thing that is just so popular, and a lot of people love working with Gemini. So, NotebookLM, Gemini, we do both. We could teach both Gemini and NotebookLM at the same time. So those are some of the ones that I definitely recommend.
Nice, nice, nice. Super cool. Yeah, I mean, I've seen, I use Gemini honestly every day. Matter of fact, uh, in the last 24 hours, I've built like 3 gems. And we can, Jasmine can explain that later and stuff like that, or a different kind of webinar or live stream. But it's made me create content for our LinkedIn newsletters super fast, right? So what I do, I just go ask Gemini to create the instructions to create the gem, put those instructions in, and then it makes it super fast to generate content and stuff like that. And going back to what you said earlier, right? Saving on average 13 hours a week, like that's 2.5 days, right? That's crazy. Like I'm already seeing benefits, and that's about what it saves for me. And when you're already overwhelmed as an entrepreneur, 2.5 days is, yeah, that's, you can't pay for that. You can't pay for that.
And me, I'm always thinking about how can I lean into it more? Where are ways I could automate, optimize? And it's really just taking the time to learn how to do it. I know when some people are like, oh, I have AI working for me when I'm asleep, those types of comments, it can. So it's just really figuring out how to create those workflows for you.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, again, if you want to reach out to Jasmine, if you want to bring her in for a workshop or a webinar with your group of entrepreneurs, or a live partner with her for a live stream, please reach out to her on LinkedIn. Also, Jasmine, I want to do a quick check. Do you have that slide deck finished?
Oh, let's see. Let me check really quick. Yes, it is finished. So let's see what it looks like. All right, so we're gonna pop it up. So as you can see here, this is the slide deck that it created out of the sources that we made. Like I said, it takes a little bit of time, but it's like unlocking repeat revenue, a unified customer action plan for Brightcart Q4. So when they're trying to actually launch, right? And it mentions those 42 locations. What's really nice here is it talks about the objective. So it's really like, hey, how do we get your Q4 revenue up? How do we take that rich data you have and make it more consistent? And then it talks about these are all the different tools that Brightcart uses. So it's like, hey, these are silos. Like, this is how you're losing these repeat purchases because you have the execution bottleneck. So as you can look through, it's really good. Like when you think about a sales deck, it really is hitting the key issues, or even saying, hey, your reps are spending 5 hours a week manually updating your notes. So, and leadership can't connect. So it's really nice just to throw something in there and see it come back out. And I know I've talked about the CFO a few times, who's going to be one of the hardest people to get on board, but we need to get them on board to get the budget to buy the software. So it also understands, outside of the VP of sales, who are the other people that we need to get on board to make this deal happen. So it's a really, really great way of, and it's a very in-depth deck, but it really does hit all the key points. So you can take this, you can edit it, you can send it to your co-sales lead, so you can both tag team it together. But it's really great what it can do. So I'm glad that it was able to finish before we wrapped up today.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, good stuff, y'all. So listen, this is an opportunity, or this was an opportunity for everyone to get a little bit better. And I do think we got better today, right? We got better today. And yeah, Shannon, love that it's not a wireframe. Absolutely. It's a real thing. You can take it. I've taken one and going straight from what it created to an actual presentation, like within like 10 minutes, right? So you can take it as is, right? But we got better today. So again, we highly encourage you all to do a number of different things. One, just try out NotebookLM. Two, do the Grow with Google AI Professional certificate. It's complimentary. Three, again, if you run a community of entrepreneurs, or a bunch of entrepreneurs and you want to do a similar live stream, reach out to Jasmine, either on LinkedIn or email, and we'll kind of go from there. So I'll end with what we say here at Goodie Nation, y'all, which is two things. One, stay magnetic, and then two, outwork yesterday. Peace out, y'all.
Thank you.